Right, so let's get into geoprocessing. So geoprocessing is a term that Esri made up for doing spatial analysis in ArcGIS. And from their help, this is their sort of definition. So it says the fundamental purposes of geoprocessing are to allow you to automate your GIS tasks and perform spatial analysis and modeling. Almost all users of GIS involve the repetition of work. This creates need for methods to automate, document, and share multiple step procedures known as workflows. So geoprocessing supports automating these workflows with a whole rich set of tools, blah, blah, blah. And so we're covering this at this point because as we get into spatial analysis, when the 6915 GIS fundamentals folks leave us, this is what we're going to be doing a lot of: geoprocessing, putting together different steps. And for those of you in GIS fundamentals, you should have some awareness of this. It's not very difficult, but it's certainly important for you to understand what's meant by it. So the types of geoprocessing in ARC include tools, denoted by little hammers in ArcGIS. And so if I switch over here to ARC and go into the ARC toolbox, oh come on! I know we're asking a lot of you, ARC. So inside of the ARC toolbox, those are toolboxes, and then these are tool sets, and then those are tools. Okay. We also have models, and so models are a collection of data and tools that you put together to record a workflow. And then scripts, typically in ArcGIS, those are Python scripts. Python's the programming language. And you can also pull together workflows and do automation. Add-ins, so you guys have already worked with the Champ Transformation toolbar. Some of those add-ins are coded using ARC objects, and in that case they leverage geoprocessing. Others are coded up with their own code and don't leverage that geoprocessing. Plugins can do the same. Both of these typically show up as toolbars, and you access the commands associated with the add-in or the plugin via those toolbars. And so the places you get to geoprocessing tools are threefold. One is the toolbox, which I just brought up in ARC and showed you. The other one is your search window. And so when you search for a particular tool or command, you're finding these geoprocessing tools. It brings back things, and notice here for copy feature it found 1, 2, 3, 4, and some other, but those are all tools, whereas these two are actual scripts. And if you click on the lower green, then that takes you to the location in the catalog and within the toolbox where that tool resides. Whereas if you click on the top, it just opens up that tool. If you hover your mouse over it, it gives you a summary of what the sort of basics of what that tool does. Another place you can get to these things are from your catalog, ARC catalog. And so inside ARC catalog, if we head over here, so inside ARC catalog, we have our toolboxes, and so you have the system toolboxes as well as my toolboxes. Right now my toolbox is empty because I haven't added anything, but I can create a new toolbox inside there and use that to collect a bunch of tools. For the system toolboxes, these are the same things that show up in ARC toolbox, right? So notice that the first one here, 3D Analyst, those are all the same. And you may find that you'll have access to these and you can see them, and some of them may not work. If that happens, double check that your extensions under Customize are indeed all turned on. Okay, so sometimes it just won't work without those turned on. Okay, so there's lots of ways to access these tools, and once you have the tool and you bring it up, so for example double clicking in the toolbox off a search or navigating to it, Then it brings up the basic tool. Usually it has some inputs it asks you where you want to put the output. There may be some other parameters. Sometimes they're optional. Click OK and you've run the tool. So when a tool's run, there's a couple of things that you'll notice. The first thing is when ArcGIS says that it is not responding, that's sometimes a good sign. So be patient. When it says not responding, wait for a second. If usually, not always, but usually when there's a geoprocessing task running in the background, down in the status bar, the bottom of the screen, it'll show you, it's executing the tool. But another way you can watch what's happening is in the results window, and this will show you what's going on and give you some details, and we'll really leverage this results window. It's a really useful tool. And then when a tool is finished, it'll come up with a green check and say, hey, everything's worked, or it'll come up with a warning or exclamation mark that I tried to run it but something went wrong. So why don't we talk a little bit more about this results window, and then we'll do a little exercise just to drive that home. So the results window contains a variety of things. Those include there's a little thing at the top which will show the session. So you might have current session and previous sessions, which are tied to your map document. So the results get stored in a map document. And if you look at the top, it'll always have the command that was called, so in this case clip. It'll have what's the output that it's trying to create, in this case a streets.clip or underscore clip1. Looks like a polyline shapefile. Then there's the inputs that went into it, so it looks like another polyline shapefile, streets, and then the clip features, in this case was zoning. And then it has messages. It says executing this. This is where it's executing it, and then it says it succeeded at that time. So what's really handy about this results window is it keeps track of all the past commands that you've used. And so you can go through here, and it's like this running log of what you've done, so long as you save it. There are a couple of tricks, and it's easiest to just demonstrate some of these. So what I've brought up here is some data that you're going to be using in Lab 3. It doesn't really matter what it is, but what I have here is a layer of polylines, and then I have a box. And what I'd like to do is just clip down to this box, so I'd use the clip command for that. I could access that clip command in the Arc toolbox from analysis. Let's see, it's extract, and then I could use clip. Or I could do the same thing in Arc Catalog, or I could search for it. So a variety of ways to get the same things. When I call up a geoprocessing tool, I can browse out to layers that aren't loaded or are loaded in my table of contents. I can drag, so the input features here, if I'm unsure how to use a command, I can hit show help. Okay, so first thing, input features. This is the features to be clipped. So that would be my geolines. I can drag those over. That's one way of bringing up things. And then another way is I can use the pull down, and this will show me what's in my table of contents. And in this case, I want to use the red, the new Logan map limits, as my clip feature. And so if I, oops, sorry about that. So what's nice is that this help, I'm just trying to remember how to get this. There we go. So this help shows you, okay, this is how the tool works, right? And then if you click on any of these, it just gives you a little hint as to what it is. Now this is saying, okay, well, where's your output going to go? And so I can browse, and I'll just say, test clip here, and I hit OK. And so as I hit OK, I'm going to switch over. Now notice right there it said it was doing something. And here's my results dialog. See how it's got a little hourglass because it's working? It says the output feature class. Well, currently it's empty. Hasn't done that. It's telling me the inputs. These are environment settings we haven't talked about. And so we just sit here and wait until it gets done. And so notice there is my new output and it automatically added that to the map. The message here says executing started. It went through and did what it needed to do, and it succeeded. And so this is really very, very handy. A couple other handy things. If you double click on a tool, instead of having to reload everything, you can run the tool again. And so maybe I wanted to run this again. Notice I'm getting a warning, so it's not going to let me do this. It's saying that this shapefile already exists. So I want to show you a couple things. Geoprocessing. Someday. Geoprocessing options. And if you have this overwrite, it'll just give you a warning instead of an error for that little warning we were getting before. And then right here, results management, I would just never delete your results so that it keeps all the results within a map document. I think that that's better than 2 weeks. That way you can always go back and find things. And that's all we'll do right now. So if you don't want the results of geoprocessing to be added to the display, you could unclick that, but I think it's quite helpful for them to come up. Another nice thing is, let's say I screwed up or I deleted that. I could come in here and I can click on this, and then I can hit add to display and bring it in. So there's a lot of power that's in this, and then this will just log all your geoprocessing results. So I really encourage you to use that results window. You get to it from right here. That brings up your results window. Okay. One obvious point here is this also is quite helpful for troubleshooting because when things go wrong, these messages also give you the hints as to what went wrong, why it crashed, and can help you troubleshoot. Okay, we need to talk about environment settings. I pointed out and sort of glossed over it that they're right here. Turns out environment settings are they control how your geoprocessing tool works. And to make things very confusing, there's 4 levels of them. We have application level settings, which are for ArcGIS in general. These are the default settings that are applied to any tool when it's executed. Then you have tool level settings, which are applied to a single run of a tool and override the application level settings. So you may configure the environment settings slightly differently. And then we have model level settings. So this is similar to tool level, but these are things that are implemented at the with a model. And then model process level, which are settings that, again, when we get into Model Builder. And what's confusing about this is these things compete with each other. So in a model, you may be bolting together multiple tools, and they may each have different environment settings that then compete with each other and compete with the model level and compete with the application level. And what gets priority? So what are these environment settings? So for any tool, you can click on the environment settings, and it'll go through these. This is sort of the relationship between these different settings and who has priority. There's a link to some help topics on this. And so, for example, when we're in that clip tool, when you click on this environments, that will bring up the environment settings for that. There's also, we sort of already highlighted some of these. The green are required parameters. The errors, when an error comes up, that means the tool won't execute. You can click on the error and it'll tell you what's going on. And then warnings are things where it may not work like you're expecting, but you don't need to do it. So when you click on one of these environment settings, it has things like the workspace, where's the sort of current and scratch workspaces, the coordinate system, the processing extent, all sorts of things. And so if we look at, for example, output coordinate system, here the default is same as input, but you could make it the same as something else in the table of contents, or you could load something. And so that's quite useful. So processing extent is another one. This is a way in which you can enforce grid concurrency. If you don't know what that means you either don't remember or need to go back to the raster data podcast where we talk about orthogonality and concurrency. But this is one way where you can control what are the top, left, bottom, and right alignment that this thing spits out as. Masked extents under the raster analysis environment setting. You can load up a mask, which might be the no data extent or even a shape file, and then it'll do the calculation you tell it to, but in the case of a raster, it'll only output data within that mask, and then everywhere else will have no data. So that's quite useful. So that's kind of an overview of geoprocessing, and there are a bunch of links and resources under this topic on the topic page where you're watching this podcast from. You can also right-click on any tool and click on Help, and that'll bring up the help for it. So just by way of example, if I were to open this, we showed you the show help and hide help, but if I want to actually bring up the full help for this, if I right click on it, I can just go to help, and this is the same documentation that you'll find on ArcGIS Online, and it goes through and explains everything. The bottom, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it also gets into often examples of how you use these geoprocessing tools in scripts and the sort of syntax for running these things at the command line. Any tool you can also run at the command line, and so a lot of you may not realize that we do have a Python command line that we can use. So with these Python is a programming language. We'll talk a little bit about it a little bit later, but you can actually enter in commands here at the command line, and then they'll run, and you'll see them processing in the background here in the geoprocessing results, which is fairly handy. Okay. So next I'm going to talk about Model Builder. We'll do that in the next podcast segment.